Blood-red silk flowing behind her like vengeance itself, Josie Rose entered the gala where her destroyer reigned supreme. 6 years of meticulous planning, culminating in this moment of delicious reckoning. Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter Stories. Before we begin, I want to say a beautiful prayer for my amazing family. May love, joy, and endless blessings fill your hearts. Now, my family, this story is long, and I want you to know that Mr. Peter put too much hard work into writing this to make it truly special for you. My request? Don't leave in the middle. Watch till the very end, because there's a big surprise waiting after Chapter 8. And tell me, am I getting better? Are you satisfied with my temporary host, James? Comment yes if you are. Are you present? Let's begin this journey with love. Chapter 1. The Fall. The Chicago skyline glittered like a crown of steel and glass against the indigo twilight. Josie Rose adjusted her emerald gown in the back of the Bentley, the fabric clinging perfectly to her curves, carefully concealing her 5-month pregnancy. Tonight would mark their 5-year anniversary, and she would finally share the news of the twins with Lucas. The ultrasound image burned in her clutch like a hidden treasure. "Mrs. Peyton, we've arrived," the driver announced, pulling up to the gleaming facade of Apex Tower, Lucas's 40-story monument to his success. "Thank you, Edwin." Josie stepped out, her stilettos clicking against the marble entrance. The elevator whisked her to the penthouse level, where Lucas had transformed the executive floor into an exclusive soiree. The financial elite of Chicago mingled under crystal chandeliers, their laughter mixing with the soft jazz from the live quartet. Josie paused at the threshold, scanning the crowd for her husband. Lucas Peyton stood in the center of the room, his 6'3" frame commanding attention, in a tailored midnight blue suit. The Devourer, they called him in business circles, a man who consumed failing companies and transformed them into profit machines with ruthless efficiency. His sharp jawline and piercing gray eyes had captivated Josie from their first meeting at that architecture gala 5 years ago. Their eyes met across the room. Usually his expression would soften, but tonight a coldness passed over his face before he masked it with a practiced smile. "Darling," he called out, voice carrying over the crowd, "you're fashionably late." Josie navigated through Chicago's elite, accepting congratulations on their anniversary. Lucas's arm snaked around her waist, his touch possessive but lacking its usual warmth. "I have a surprise," she whispered, leaning into him. "As do I." His voice carried an edge that sent a chill down her spine. A server appeared with champagne. Lucas took 2 flutes, offering one to Josie. "I shouldn't," she began. "Take it," he insisted, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Everyone's watching." She accepted the glass but didn't drink. Something was wrong. His shoulders carried tension she recognized from hostile takeovers, not anniversary celebrations. "Ladies and gentlemen," Lucas's voice boomed, command in every syllable. The room quieted instantly. "Thank you for joining us on this momentous occasion." Josie relaxed slightly. This was the Lucas she knew, charismatic, powerful. 5 years ago, I married Josie believing I'd found someone extraordinary. His fingers dug into her waist. Someone loyal. The room temperature seemed to drop. Josie's smile froze on her face. "I've built my reputation on seeing through deception," he continued. "Ironic, then, that I missed what was right beside me." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Behind Lucas, a screen descended from the ceiling. With a click of a remote, he illuminated it, displaying medical records. "For those unaware, I've had a medical condition since childhood, one that makes it impossible for me to father children." His voice turned arctic. "Imagine my surprise when my wife missed our board meeting last month for a doctor's appointment." Josie's blood ran cold. "Lucas, what are you?" My security team is quite thorough, darling. He released her, stepping away as if she were contaminated. They retrieved this from your personal physician. The screen changed to an ultrasound image. Her ultrasound. Twins, he announced to the stunned crowd. How miraculous, considering my condition. Josie's hand instinctively covered her belly. Lucas, please, let me explain. Explain? His laugh cut like glass. Perhaps Zachariah Frost should explain. My chief competitor, whose hotel you've been visiting regularly. The Dover, isn't it? Suite 1506. The room spun. That's my design project. I'm renovating the... Stop lying! His roar silenced the room. I gave you everything. Took you from your struggling firm, made you my wife, and this is how you repay me. By whoring yourself to my enemies? Gasps echoed through the crowd. Someone dropped a glass. You're making a terrible mistake, Josie attempted, her voice steady despite the trembling in her limbs. These children are yours. I've never been unfaithful. Children I can't possibly father, he sneered. Were you planning to pass off your bastards as Peyton heirs? Access my fortune through them? DNA test, she challenged, chin lifting. Prove it. His expression darkened. I already have. From the shadows, Zavira Nightshade emerged, her blood-red dress complementing her name. Lucas's chief operating officer placed a folder in his hands with a triumphant smile. Your amniocentesis results, darling. The DNA doesn't match mine. Impossible. Josie had never authorized such a test, had never even met with a specialist for amniocentesis. This is fabricated, she hissed, snatching the folder. The medical letterhead looked authentic, but the details were wrong. Wrong doctor, wrong dates. Security, Lucas called sharply. Two suited men appeared at his side. Mrs. Peyton is leaving. Lucas, you can't do this. I'm pregnant with your children. Not mine. His voice rang with finality. I knew it was a mistake to elevate street trash to my world. You've never belonged here. The security guards gripped her arms, pulling her toward the exit. You can't just throw me out. I'm your wife. She fought against their hold. Not anymore. Lucas loosened his tie. The divorce papers will arrive tomorrow. Your access to all accounts has been terminated. Consider our prenup void due to infidelity. This is Zavira's doing, Josie shouted, seeing the smirk on the other woman's face. She's manipulating you. Lucas stepped closer, voice low enough that only she could hear. The biggest mistake of my life was putting that ring on your finger. Take your bastards and get out of my sight. The guards half-dragged her to the elevator. Josie struggled, feeling a sharp pain lance through her abdomen. You're hurting me. I'm pregnant. Not my problem, one guard muttered. In the lobby, they marched her through the marble atrium, every security camera recording her humiliation. Outside, they released her so suddenly she stumbled, scraping her palms on the icy sidewalk. One guard tossed her clutch beside her. The other dropped her emerald wrap, letting it fall into a slush puddle. Mr. Peyton says you can keep the dress, the guard smirked. He says trash should look nice for once. The doors closed behind them, leaving Josie alone on the freezing Chicago street. Above, the party continued, faces peering down from the penthouse windows. She struggled to her feet, another pain tearing through her midsection. Stronger this time. No phone, no wallet, no access to her accounts. Her keys would be useless. Lucas would have already changed the locks. She took one step and doubled over as warm liquid trickled down her thighs. Blood. The twins. Josie looked up at the glittering tower, at the man she'd loved watching impassively from 40 stories above, and knew with absolute certainty her life as she knew it was over. But something new was beginning. The last thing she saw before collapsing on the icy pavement was Zavara raising a champagne glass in mocking toast, Lucas's arm around her waist exactly where Josie's had been minutes before. "Help," she whispered as darkness took her. "My babies." A passing stranger stopped, phone already dialing emergency services. In that moment, as sirens wailed in the distance, something crystallized in Josie Rose's soul. If she survived this, if her children survived this, she would return. Not for reconciliation, not for explanation, for reckoning. Chapter 2. Shattered. Josie awoke to the steady beep of hospital monitors. Fluorescent lights burned her eyes as consciousness returned, bringing with it the crushing memory of Lucas's betrayal. "My babies," she gasped, hands flying to her stomach. "They're fighters just like their mama," came a deep voice from her left. A man in navy scrubs sat beside her bed. His dark skin contrasted with striking silver-streaked dreadlocks pulled back from an angular face. His ID badge read, "Doctor Thorne Wolfe." "The twins?" Josie's voice cracked with desperation. "Stable for now." Dr. Wolfe's eyes were kind but serious. "You experienced placental abruption. The placenta began separating from your uterine wall. We've stopped the bleeding, but you'll need complete bed rest. You're only 22 weeks along." Tears spilled down Josie's cheeks. "This is my fault." According to the paramedics' report, you were physically manhandled and thrown onto the street while pregnant. Dr. Wolfe's voice hardened. "That's assault, Mrs. Peyton." "Ms. Rose," she corrected automatically. "I won't be Mrs. Peyton much longer." Dr. Wolfe's brow furrowed. "The social worker will want to speak with you. There are resources." "I don't need charity," Josie interrupted, pride flaring. "What you need is to keep those babies safe." He stood, towering over her bed. "And to do that, you need help. Swallow your pride, Ms. Rose. It won't feed your children." Before she could respond, he was gone, replaced by a nurse checking her vitals. "Your phone's been ringing constantly," the nurse mentioned, nodding toward the side table where her clutch, the only possession she had left, sat. Some woman named Zephyrine. Josie grabbed the phone, seeing 15 missed calls from her former mentor. Zephyrine DeVaux had discovered Josie at a university design competition 7 years ago, before Lucas, before everything. She dialed back with trembling fingers. "Darling, finally," Zephyrine's French-tinged voice answered. "I've been calling for hours. The news is everywhere. Lucas claiming you cheated, throwing you out at your own anniversary party. Tell me it's tabloid nonsense." "It's real," Josie whispered. "I'm in the hospital. The twins." "Twins," Zephyrine gasped. "You're pregnant." 5 months. Lucas claims they can't be his. He had me dragged out by security." A stream of French curses followed. "Where are you?" "I'm coming immediately." 3 hours later, Zephyrine DeVaux swept into the hospital room like a hurricane. Her silver hair styled in an immaculate bob, black designer clothing making her look like a fashionable Grim Reaper. At 62, the former supermodel turned philanthropist remained a force of nature. "Those vultures downstairs," she hissed, dropping a stack of tabloids on Josie's bed. "They're calling you a gold digger, a cheat." The headline screamed, "Peyton Heir Scandal, Pregnant Architect's Betrayal, the Devourer Devoured by Deception." Josie's photo was splashed across each cover, most showing her being escorted from the building, one particularly cruel shot capturing her fallen on the sidewalk. "Lucas has frozen everything," Josie said dully. "My personal accounts, my access to our joint accounts. He's even contacted my clients." "He's destroying you," Zephyrine concluded, eyes narrowing. "This is more than jealousy or hurt. This is calculated." A soft knock interrupted them. A slender woman with copper skin and a severe platinum pixie cut entered, her charcoal suit impeccably tailored. "Ms. Rose, I'm Araceli Vega from Women First Legal Aid. Dr. Wolf contacted us." "I don't need," Josie began. "Yes, she does," Zephyrine interrupted. "Lucas Peyton has considerable resources and connections. Josie needs protection." Araceli nodded. "We specialize in cases like yours. Wealthy men who use their power to crush their partners when relationships end." "She needs somewhere to stay when released," Dr. Wolf announced, entering behind Araceli. "Somewhere safe from reporters and Peyton's people." "Ascension House," Zephyrine suggested. "My women's shelter in Oak Park. Private, secure, with medical staff." Josie felt her control slipping away. "I don't need to hide in a shelter. I need to fight back." "With what resources?" Dr. Wolf challenged. "Your reputation's being dismantled as we speak. Your credit cards are canceled. Your former friends are giving interviews painting you as an opportunist." "What friends?" Josie laughed bitterly. "Exactly," Araceli said. "You need time to regroup. Build a case." A nurse rushed in, her expression troubled. "Dr. Wolf, there's a woman insisting on seeing Miss Rose. Says she's from Peyton Ventures." Josie tensed. "Zavara?" "No, she says her name is Imara Quinn, head of legal for Peyton Ventures," Zephyrine hissed. "The Barracuda. Lucas sends his attack dog already." Dr. Wolf glanced at Josie. "Your choice." "Let her in," Josie decided. "I want to know what he's planning." Imara Quinn entered with predatory grace, her ash-blonde hair pulled into a sleek ponytail, blue eyes cold as winter. Without preamble, she placed a thick envelope on Josie's bed. "Divorce papers, along with a non-disclosure agreement. Mr. Peyton offers $1 million in exchange for your signature and your silence." Josie didn't touch the envelope. "And if I refuse, then Mr. Peyton will pursue full custody of any children proven to be his through court-ordered DNA testing. If they're not his, he'll ensure you're charged with attempting paternity fraud." "They are his children," Josie insisted. "The only man I've been with is Lucas." Imara's smile was shark-like. "Then you won't mind the DNA test." "After they're born," Dr. Wolf interjected, "amniocentesis now would endanger the pregnancy." "Convenient," Imara remarked. "Mr. Peyton requires resolution before potential heirs arrive." "Get out," Zephyrine ordered, stepping forward. "Before I have security remove you." Imara placed a business card on the envelope. "You have 48 hours to decide, Ms. Rose. After that, the offer decreases by half." After she left, Josie collapsed against her pillows. "He's trying to force my hand because he knows he's acting on false information," Araceli theorized. "Someone lied to him about your fidelity, about his ability to father children." "Severa," Josie confirmed. "She's been after him for years. I found texts on his phone 6 months ago, but he assured me they were purely professional." "Classic manipulation," Zephyrine muttered. "Turn the victim into the villain." "I need to access my private files," Josie said suddenly. "I kept backups of everything: texts, emails, medical records, financials. Evidence." "Where?" Araceli asked. "Cloud storage, and a physical drive at my mother's old place in Southside." Dr. Wolf shook his head. "You're not going anywhere. Those babies need you on complete bed rest." "I'll go," Zephyrine volunteered. "Give me the address and passwords." Josie hesitated. Lucas might have people watching. "Let them watch an old woman visit a house," Zephyrine scoffed. "They won't suspect me." That night, after everyone left, Josie stared at the ultrasound image Dr. Wolf had given her. 2 perfect little profiles, curled toward each other like matched puzzle pieces. Her phone buzzed with the news alert. She opened it to find Lucas and Zavira photographed entering his penthouse, her arm possessively linked through his. The caption read, Peyton moves on with stunning executive after wife's betrayal. The rage that surged through Josie was primal, unexpected in its intensity. For the first time since her collapse, she felt something beyond despair, a burning determination that crystallized her thoughts. They thought her destroyed, discarded and defeated. They were wrong. 3 days later, Josie was transferred to Ascension House under heavy security. The elegant Victorian mansion, converted into a haven for women escaping abuse, welcomed her with unexpected warmth. Her room overlooked carefully tended gardens, now dormant under winter snow. Zephyrine had retrieved her backup drive, and Araceli was building a case, but Josie's immediate focus remained on her pregnancy. The twins' lives hung in a precarious balance. Each day they remained in her womb increased their chances. 1 week into her stay, Dr. Wolf arrived for a scheduled checkup with unexpected company, a distinguished black man with silver temples and watchful eyes. "Miss Rose, this is Kairos Ravenwood, a colleague I trust implicitly." Kairos's handshake was firm, his gaze assessing. "Dr. Wolf believes you need my particular skill set." "And what skill set is that?" Josie asked warily. "Financial intelligence," he replied. "I spent 15 years with the NSA tracking money launderers and corporate criminals. Now I work privately." "I can't afford a financial investigator," Josie said bluntly. "Consider it pro bono," Kairos responded. "Lucas Peyton has been on my radar for some time. His business practices skirt legality." Josie studied him. "You want to use me to get to him?" "I prefer to think of it as mutual benefit," Kairos smiled slightly. "You need resources. I need insight into Peyton's operations." "What exactly are you proposing?" "Information exchange to start. Eventually, perhaps, a working relationship. I have connections at Onyx Holdings, a private investment group. They appreciate intelligent individuals with insider knowledge." Josie glanced at Dr. Wolf, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "I won't do anything illegal," she stated. "My children deserve better." "Nothing illegal," Kairos agreed. "Just strategic." That night, Josie dreamed of her children, not as vulnerable fetuses, but as strong boys with her complexion and Lucas's piercing eyes. In the dream, they stood beside her, perfect miniature versions of their parents combined, watching a crumbling tower with Peyton Ventures emblazoned across the top. She woke with a gasp, hands protectively cradling her belly. For the first time since that terrible night, Josie Rose allowed herself a smile. She would survive this. Her sons would survive this. And one day they would return to claim what was rightfully theirs. Chapter 3. Rebirth. "Push, Josie," Dr. Wolf commanded, his normally calm voice urgent. "The first twin is crowning." Josie gripped the bed rails of the hospital bed, sweat drenching her hospital gown. She'd made it to 32 weeks, a miracle according to Dr. Wolf, but still dangerously premature for twins. "I can't," she gasped, exhaustion threatening to overwhelm her. "Yes, you can," Zephyrine insisted, squeezing her hand. "You're the strongest woman I know." Josie bore down with renewed determination, a primal scream tearing from her throat. Seconds later, a tiny, indignant cry filled the delivery room. "It's a boy," Dr. Wolf announced, quickly passing the infant to waiting NICU nurses. "Now let's get his brother." 8 minutes later, the second twin emerged, smaller than the first, but with equally powerful lungs. "Another boy," Dr. Wolf confirmed, his face splitting into a rare grin. "Congratulations, Josie. They're fighters." As the nurses whisked the premature infants to incubators, Josie collapsed against the pillows, tears streaming down her face. "Are they okay?" "They're doing remarkably well for 32 weekers," Dr. Wolf assured her. "Small but mighty." 3 hours later, when she was stable enough to be wheeled into the NICU, Josie finally saw her sons. tiny beings in transparent boxes, wires monitoring every function, yet undeniably perfect. Their skin was darker than Lucas's fair complexion, but lighter than Josie's rich mahogany. A beautiful blend. Even premature and underweight, their features showed striking resemblance to both parents. "They look like him," she whispered, touching the incubator glass. "They look like both of you," Zephyrine corrected gently. "Have you decided on names?" Josie nodded, her gaze never leaving the infants. "Ezekiel and Elijah Rose, Zeke and Eli." "Strong names," Kairos commented, appearing in the doorway with an armful of blue hydrangeas. "For strong boys. Shouldn't you be on your way to New York?" Josie asked, surprised. Kairos had spent the last 2 months preparing her for a potential position at Onyx Holdings once she recovered from childbirth. His financial lessons had occupied her bed rest, giving purpose to her enforced stillness. "I postponed," he said simply. "Some things are more important than business." A nurse approached, her expression apologetic. "Ms. Rose, there's a courier in reception with legal documents requiring immediate signature." Josie stiffened. "From Lucas?" "The envelope has the Peyton Ventures logo." Kairos's expression darkened. "I'll handle it." "No," Josie decided. "I'll see them. Here, in the NICU. Let Lucas's messenger see what his lies almost destroyed." The courier, a nervous young man in a tailored suit, paled visibly when led into the NICU. His eyes darted between the incubators and Josie's determined face. "Ms. Rose, I have documents from Mr. Peyton's legal team." He extended a leather portfolio. Josie took it without breaking eye contact. "Tell your boss my sons would like to thank him for nearly killing them." The courier swallowed hard. "I'm just the messenger, ma'am." "Then deliver this message exactly. Lucas Peyton is the biological father of these children, and one day he'll regret discarding us." After the courier fled, Josie opened the portfolio. Inside lay finalized divorce papers already bearing Lucas's signature, a restraining order preventing her from contacting him, and a cashier's check for $2 million, double the original offer. "He's running scared," Kairos observed, reading over her shoulder. "He should be," Josie murmured. "Look at them, Kairos. They're unmistakably Peytons." "What will you do?" Zephyrine asked. Josie's finger traced the restraining order. "Sign. Take his money. Disappear." "Disappear?" Dr. Wolf frowned. "Not forever," Josie clarified. "Just long enough to become someone he won't recognize when I return." 4 days later, a nurse rushed into the NICU where Josie sat between her son's incubators, reading financial reports Kairos had provided. "Miss Rose, you need to see this." She thrust a tablet into Josie's hands. The screen showed a live-stream business announcement. Lucas stood at a podium, Zavara beside him in a triumphant crimson suit. "After careful consideration," Lucas was saying, "I'm pleased to announce my engagement to Zavara Nightshade, who will also assume the position of president at Peyton Ventures." Photographers shouted questions. "What about your recent divorce? Is it true your ex-wife had twins? Are you the father?" Lucas raised a hand for silence. "My personal life was exploited by someone I mistakenly trusted. I've put that chapter behind me and look forward to building a future with Zavara." A reporter persisted. "Sources say your ex-wife gave birth to twin boys 3 days ago. Will you seek custody?" Lucas's expression hardened. "I have no children." "Next question." Josie silently handed the tablet back to the nurse, her expression unreadable. "I'm sorry," the nurse whispered. "I thought you should know." "Thank you," Josie replied, voice steady. "It's actually perfect timing." She turned to her sons, touching each incubator gently. "Your father just made a critical mistake, my loves. He publicly denied you. And I'm going to make sure he regrets those words for the rest of his life." That evening, she signed the divorce papers with a steady hand. When she reached the non-disclosure agreement, however, she hesitated. "Sign it," Kairos advised. "For now. They're trying to silence me. Let them think they've succeeded." Kairos's eyes gleamed with strategy. "There are always ways around legal language." The next morning, Dr. Wolf delivered unexpected news. "Your son's blood work shows a rare condition, twin-to-twin antibody sharing. It's unusual, but explains their remarkable progress despite prematurity." "Is it dangerous?" Josie asked, alarmed. "Quite the opposite. Their immune systems are functioning as one enhanced unit. It's fascinating from a medical perspective." He paused. "There's something else. The paternity test results." Josie tensed. Despite her certainty, a sliver of doubt had lingered. What if, somehow, Lucas's claims were true? "They're his," Dr. Wolf confirmed, handing her the report. 99.9998% probability. Lucas Peyton is definitely the father." Relief flooded through her, followed by righteous anger. He knew. He must have known. Or someone convinced him otherwise, Zephyrin suggested. Zavira had everything to gain. "Send a copy to Lucas," Josie decided. "The restraining order," Kairos began, "prohibits me from contacting him," Josie finished. "Not my doctor from providing medical information about his biological children." "Right, Dr. Wolf." Dr. Wolf's smile was wolfish indeed. "Medical ethics require me to inform a father of his children's genetic conditions, especially rare ones." 2 days later, Josie received a text from an unknown number. The package was delivered. Recipient appeared disturbed. Female companion displeased. "Good," Josie murmured, deleting the message. By the time the twins were 6 weeks old, they had grown stronger, no longer requiring incubators. Josie spent every moment with them, marveling at their development. Though identical, subtle differences emerged. Ezekiel, born first, was more assertive, his cries demanding. Elijah observed more, his dark eyes tracking movements with uncanny focus. When they were finally discharged, Josie didn't return to Ascension House. Instead, Kairos escorted them to a secure apartment in a high-rise overlooking the lake. "Temporary accommodations," he explained, "until New York is ready." The apartment was minimally but elegantly furnished, with state-of-the-art security and a nursery equipped with everything the twins might need. "How can I afford this?" Josie asked, suspicious. "Consider it in advance from your future employer," Kairos replied. "Onyx Holdings is very interested in your potential." "They haven't even interviewed me," Josie pointed out. "They've been watching you for months," Kairos countered. "How you've handled crisis, how you've strategized, how you've remained focused despite personal chaos. That's worth more than any interview." That night, with her sons sleeping peacefully in matching bassinets, Josie opened her laptop and began a new document. At the top, she typed, "The Peyton Reclamation 6-Year Strategy." 3 months later, Josie Rose disappeared from Chicago completely. No forwarding address, no social media presence, no trace. Lucas Peyton's discarded wife simply ceased to exist. In her place, J.R. Rose emerged in New York's financial district, a sharp-minded analyst at Onyx Holdings, with a gift for identifying undervalued companies and predicting market shifts. The twins remained her closely guarded secret, cared for in her Upper East Side apartment by a trusted nanny while she worked grueling hours, absorbing everything Kairos and his associates taught her. By the twins' first birthday, J.R. Rose had made her first million independent of Lucas's settlement money. By their second, she'd been promoted to junior partner, her reputation for ruthless accuracy growing. The boys developed an unusual connection, often communicating without words, moving in synchronized patterns as if choreographed. When Ezekiel took his first steps, Elijah followed within hours, not days or weeks as typical with twins. When Elijah spoke his first word, Ezekiel instantly added it to his vocabulary. On their third birthday, Josie received a package from Dr. Wolfe, now working at a prestigious research hospital in Boston. Inside was a medical journal featuring an article about the twins' rare antibody sharing condition. Anonymized, but unmistakably them. A note was paperclipped to the article. LP subscribes to this journal. Thought you'd want to know. Josie smiled, adding the article to her growing file labeled Lucas. Every interview where he mentioned wanting children with Zavera, every business decision, every public appearance, all documented, analyzed, and stored for future use. That evening, as she tucked her beautiful boys into bed, Ezekiel asked the question she'd been dreading. "Mama, where's our daddy?" Josie froze, unprepared despite knowing this moment would come. Elijah, ever observant, added, "Jamie has a daddy. Tyler has a daddy." Josie sat on the edge of their bed, choosing her words carefully. "Your daddy lives far away. He made some mistakes." "Bad mistakes?" Ezekiel pressed. "Yes," Josie admitted. "He believed lies told by a mean person. About us." Elijah's perception unnerved her sometimes. "About all of us," Josie confirmed. "Someday, when you're bigger, you'll meet him. But for now, we're perfect, just as we are. Aren't we?" The twins nodded in perfect unison, a habit that still occasionally unsettled her. "Now, which story would you like tonight?" "The king who lost everything," they chorused, their favorite. Josie began the familiar tale. Once there was a powerful king who had everything, a castle, gold, and a queen who loved him. But the king listened to an evil sorceress who told him lies about his queen. The story always ended the same way, with the queen and her twin princes returning to reclaim their kingdom. The boys didn't yet realize it was their story, their future. As they drifted to sleep, Josie studied their faces, perfect blends of herself and Lucas. The evidence of his betrayal living, breathing, growing stronger every day. In 3 more years, she would return to Chicago. By then, J.R. Rose would be powerful enough to face Lucas Payton as an equal. By then, the boys would be old enough to understand their heritage and their purpose. By then, Lucas would learn what happens when you discard what's most precious. Revenge, like her sons, needed time to grow. Chapter 4. Ascension. "The board unanimously approves your acquisition strategy, Ms. Rose," announced Damia Valencia, sliding the tablet across the conference table. Josie nodded, scanning the projections for Eclipse Investments, the private equity firm she'd launched after departing Onyx Holdings. 14 companies acquired, transformed from struggling to profitable. And the Chicago property? Final paperwork arrives tomorrow. Eclipse Tower will be official next week, directly across from Payton Ventures headquarters. The digital countdown on Josie's desk read 38 days, until her 6-year exile would end. Phase 1 of her meticulously planned return to Chicago would begin. A commotion from the hallway interrupted. Twin 6-year-old boys racing toward her office, Mrs. Chen following. "I apologize, Miss Rose," Mrs. Chen called as Ezekiel and Elijah burst through the door in perfect synchronization. They insisted on showing you their test results immediately. The twins presented identical papers, each marked with perfect scores. Their dark eyes, unmistakably Lucas's eyes, watched expectantly. "Excellent work," Josie praised. Though identical in appearance, subtle differences had emerged. Ezekiel carried himself with confidence. Elijah observed more, his gaze calculating. "We finished 2 grade levels ahead," Ezekiel announced. "Ms. Harrington said we could skip 2nd grade," Elijah added. "We'll discuss advancement when we move to Chicago," Josie replied. The twins exchanged a glance, their silent communication at work. They developed an unusual connection, often communicating without words. "Mrs. Chen, please take the boys for lunch," Josie instructed. "We'll celebrate their achievement tonight." After they departed, Damia continued, "Doctor," Wolf called. "The research paper on the twins' antibody-sharing condition has generated interest in medical circles." "Has Lucas seen it?" Josie asked directly. Dr. Wolf confirmed the journal was delivered to Peyton Ventures' medical division. The case study was anonymized, but Lucas would recognize the implications, Josie finished. "Good." 6 years ago, Dr. Wolf had discovered the twins' rare condition, twin-to-twin antibody sharing. Their immune systems functioned as one enhanced unit. "The Tokyo acquisition call is in 30 minutes, Damia reminded her. "They'll accept our second proposal," Josie stated confidently. Unlike Lucas, who devoured companies, Josie transformed them, preserving jobs while maximizing profitability. Her reputation as the Restorer contrasted with his Devourer moniker. After the Tokyo call, Josie found the twins playing chess, a game they'd mastered at 4 and now played at tournament level. They often moved pieces without discussion, yet demonstrated coordinated attacks. "Who's winning?" Josie asked. "We both are," Ezekiel replied cryptically. "And we're both losing," Elijah added. "Bath, then dinner," Josie instructed. "We have important things to discuss tonight." Later, in her study, Josie displayed a map of Chicago on a wall-sized screen. "In 38 days, we're moving to Chicago," Josie began. "Eclipse is opening its headquarters there." "Will we see him?" Ezekiel asked directly. Though she'd never shown them photos, they somehow knew precisely which him mattered. "Eventually," Josie confirmed, "but first we need to prepare." "Where Father rejected us," Elijah said with unsettling clarity. "Yes," she acknowledged, "your father denied you both, publicly." "But we didn't die," Ezekiel stated. "We got stronger," Elijah finished. "This is where your father works," she continued, the screen changing to show Apex Tower. "Where it happened." "Where he threw you out," Ezekiel elaborated. "Where Zavera lied," Elijah added, surprising Josie with his knowledge. "Have you been accessing my files?" Josie asked sharply. The twins exchanged another glance but didn't answer directly. "We know things," Ezekiel said finally. "We listen," Elijah clarified. "We remember." Josie made a mental note to strengthen her security protocols. "Eclipse is buying the building across from Apex Tower. We'll be watching your father's company while we prepare." "For what?" the twins asked simultaneously. "For him to learn the truth, that you are his sons, that he was wrong." "Will he be sorry?" Ezekiel asked. "Will he beg?" Elijah immediately followed. Josie felt a chill at their tone. This isn't about making him suffer. It's about truth and justice. The twins exchanged another look, their silent communication at work. "Justice," they agreed finally. That night, Josie called Kairos from her secure line. "The boys know more than they should," she said. "They knew Zavera's name, details I've never shared." "They're exceptionally intelligent," Kairos replied, unsurprised, "and perceptive." "And Lucas's," Josie added grimly. "That's what concerns me. They've inherited his calculation." "Which makes them perfect for what's to come," Kairos pointed out. "The Chicago preparations are complete." "And the intelligence on Lucas?" "Peyton Ventures has expanded aggressively, too aggressively. They've over-leveraged on 3 major developments, including the Riverside Quarter." "The project using my original designs," Josie noted bitterly. "Yes, and Zavera has made enemies. Her biotech subsidiary is under regulatory scrutiny for ethical violations." "And personally, their relationship shows strain. No children despite public statements. Lucas has been seen arguing with her at events. "What about Zachariah Frost?" she asked, referencing the competitor Lucas had falsely accused her of sleeping with. "Interested in meeting once you're established in Chicago," Kairos replied. "He holds a grudge against Lucas for spreading rumors." "Perfect," Josie said, examining the model of Eclipse Tower. "Prepare the dossiers on Lucas's board members. I want to know every leverage point." "Already compiled," Kairos assured her. "This chess match is nearly 6 years in the making. Every piece is positioned exactly where it needs to be." After ending the call, Josie watched her sons sleep. In repose, they looked like any normal children. But Josie knew better. They were exceptional, her greatest creation and most powerful weapons. "Soon," Josie whispered, "soon we reclaim everything that was taken from us." In their sleep, both boys smiled simultaneously, as if hearing her promise. Chapter 5. Return. The Chicago skyline materialized through the jet's windows as they began their descent. Josie gazed at the familiar architecture, memories washing over her, some cherished, most painful. 6 years of exile had transformed both the city and the woman returning to it. Beside her, the twins pressed their faces to the glass, identical expressions of fascination as they catalogued buildings. "Apex Tower," Elijah identified immediately, pointing to the distinctive skyscraper. "And there's our building," Ezekiel added, indicating Eclipse Tower directly across. Josie marveled at their knowledge. Despite never having visited Chicago, they'd memorized its geography from maps and models she'd shown them. "Ready?" she asked as the jet touched down. The twins nodded in synchronization, their dark eyes, Lucas's eyes, alight with purpose. "Remember the rules," Josie reminded them. "No wandering off, no speaking to reporters, and no mentioning father," they finished together. "Not yet," Josie confirmed. "The world meets you when I decide, not before." A sleek limousine awaited them. As they settled inside, the twins scrutinized the driver's reflection. "That's Ajax," she explained. "He'll be our head of security in Chicago." The massive man nodded respectfully. "The penthouse is prepared. Perimeter security installed as specified." Chicago had changed. New buildings, altered skylines, but the energy remained familiar. As they approached downtown, her eyes fixed on Apex Tower, its gleaming facade reflecting the afternoon sun. Somewhere in that building, Lucas Payton continued his empire building, unaware that his past was about to confront him. Their limousine pulled into Eclipse Tower's underground parking facility. A private elevator whisked them directly to the penthouse level. The penthouse sprawled before them, floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views, and a perfect sightline to Lucas's office tower directly opposite. The twins explored with methodical precision, moving in perfect tandem. Their new bedrooms connected by a shared study space, both decorated in sophisticated blues and grays. "Your office is set up," Ajax informed Josie, leading her to a glass-enclosed command center. Screens displayed financial data, security feeds, and most prominently, a live camera focused on Apex Tower's executive floor. "Telescopic lens," Ajax explained. "We can read documents on desks from this distance." "Perfect," Josie murmured, her gaze locked on a familiar figure visible through the windows, Lucas Payton, standing at his desk, phone to his ear, gesturing emphatically. 6 years had weathered him. Still handsome, but harder. Lines etched around his eyes, silver threading his temples. The sight triggered a cascade of emotions, rage, vindication, and something else she refused to acknowledge. "Initiating surveillance protocols," Ajax continued. "All communications from Payton Ventures will be monitored." Josie's phone chimed with a message from Kairos. "Welcome home. Targets notified of your arrival. Reactions incoming." Right on cue, she watched Lucas receive something on his phone. His expression shifted from concentration to shock. He rushed to his computer, typing frantically. "He's searching for information about Eclipse investments," Josie stated with certainty. "About me." "Will he find anything?" Ajax asked. "Only what I want him to see." For 6 years, Josie had carefully controlled her public image. J.R. Rose was known in financial circles as a reclusive genius investor, deliberately avoiding photographs and personal publicity. "Mama," Ezekiel called from the doorway, "when do we start school?" Both twins stood watching her, matching outfits, matching postures. "Next week," Josie replied. "First, we establish our presence in Chicago. Tomorrow night is the Burnham Foundation Gala." "Will he be there?" Elijah asked directly. "Yes," Josie confirmed. "But you won't. Not yet." The twins exchanged one of their silent communications. "We understand," they replied in unison. That evening, Josie reviewed the dossiers Kairos had prepared on key Chicago power players, particularly Lucas's inner circle. Most had never met J.R. Rose, knowing the financial powerhouse only by reputation. Her phone rang with Zephyrine distinctive tone. "You've landed, then," the older woman stated without preamble. "How does it feel to return?" "Like finishing a long-delayed mission," Josie replied, watching the twins playing chess in perfect silence. "Are the arrangements for tomorrow complete?" "Your invitation to the Burnham Gala sits on their guest list. Lucas and Zivera are confirmed attendees, and your dress will make an impression," Josie finished. The blood-red gown had been custom-designed to announce her return with unmistakable symbolism. "And the boys?" Zephyrine asked, her voice softening. Josie watched her sons, their expressions mirroring each other as they studied the chessboard. Perfect, unsettling in their perfection sometimes. "Lucas's spawn indeed," Zephyrine remarked dryly. "Speaking of the devil, my sources say he and Zevera are struggling. Their fertility treatments have failed repeatedly." Josie absorbed this information silently. Lucas's inability to have children with Zevera validated what she'd always known. His supposed infertility had been Zevera's manipulation. "Their biotech company faces a whistleblower lawsuit," Zephyrine continued. "Something about unauthorized human trials. Nothing public yet, but the vultures are circling." "Perfect timing," Josie murmured. After ending the call, she approached the twins, observing their game. Both had developed extraordinary chess abilities, their matches often ending in stalemate as they anticipated each other's moves. "Checkmate in 3, Ezekiel announced calmly. "Unless I sacrifice the bishop," Elijah countered. "Which you won't," Ezekiel replied confidently, "because you need it for your counterattack." Elijah smiled slightly, the first genuine emotion they'd displayed since landing. "Perhaps I've developed a new strategy." "I'd see it before you implemented it," Ezekiel reminded him. "I always do." Their connection, both biological and psychological, had been extensively documented by Dr. Wolf's research team. The antibody sharing condition had seemingly extended to a neurological synchronicity that allowed them to anticipate each other's thoughts. "Time for bed," Josie announced. "Tomorrow begins phase 1. As she tucked them in, Elijah asked unexpectedly, "Are you afraid to see him?" Josie paused, struck by the directness. "Not afraid, prepared." "He'll recognize us," Ezekiel stated with certainty. "We have his eyes." "And his mind," Elijah added. "But my heart," Josie countered firmly. "Never forget that." After the twins fell asleep, Josie returned to her command center. Lucas's office stood dark now, but lights still glowed in other parts of Apex Tower. She activated the surveillance system, scanning communications for mentions of Eclipse Investments or J.R. Rose. Results flooded the screen: internal emails, text messages, search queries. Lucas had been investigating intensively since receiving notification of her company's arrival. One particular search caught her attention. Josie Rose Payton current location. He remembered. After 6 years, he still searched for traces of the woman he'd discarded. Josie allowed herself a cold smile. By tomorrow night, he wouldn't need to search anymore. Morning brought a flurry of activity. The official press release announcing Eclipse Investments' Chicago headquarters dominated financial news. Stock prices for Payton Ventures dropped 3 points in response, the market recognizing potential competition. As twilight approached, Zephyrine arrived to help her prepare for the gala. "Nervous?" the older woman asked, watching Josie apply her makeup with mechanical precision. "Focused," Josie corrected. "Tonight isn't about emotion. It's about establishing presence." "And watching his face when he sees you," Zephyrine added with satisfaction. The blood-red gown transformed Josie into a vision of controlled power. Architectural in its precision, the color a deliberate reminder of blood spilled 6 years ago. Her hair, once worn long and natural as Lucas preferred, now framed her face in a sleek, sophisticated style. "He won't recognize you at first," Zephyrine observed. "You've become someone else entirely." "That was the point," Josie replied, surveying her reflection. Gone was the naive young architect who had loved Lucas Payton. In her place stood J.R. Rose, calculated, powerful, and dangerous. "The car is ready, Ms. Rose," Ajax announced from the doorway. Josie kissed her sleeping sons goodbye, then steeled herself for what came next. 6 years of planning distilled into one pivotal evening. The Burnham Foundation Gala represented Chicago's elite gathering to support architectural preservation, a delicious irony considering Lucas had stolen and claimed credit for Josie's architectural designs after discarding her. As her limousine approached the historic Palmer House Hotel, Josie touched the obsidian necklace at her throat, her talisman of transformation. The moment had arrived. "Show time," she whispered. Chapter 6. Recognition. Camera flashes erupted as Josie emerged from the limousine, her blood-red gown catching the light. Whispers rippled through the press, the mysterious J.R. Rose making her first public appearance in Chicago. The Palmer House ballroom glittered with Chicago's elite. Josie paused at the entrance, allowing the crowd to register her arrival. "J.R. Rose," the announcer declared, CEO of Eclipse Investments. Edmund Burnham approached, gray-haired, distinguished. "Ms. Rose, welcome to our foundation's gala." As Burnham led her through the crowd, Josie scanned faces, seeking one in particular. Financial titans approached to introduce themselves, each attempting to discern Eclipse's Chicago expansion strategy. She answered with practiced ambiguity until, there, Lucas Payton stood across the room, champagne in hand. Beside him, Zavira Nightshade commanded attention in a sleek black gown, her hand possessively on his arm. 6 years had added silver at Lucas's temples, but failed to diminish his commanding presence. The sight triggered memories Josie had ruthlessly suppressed. "Ah, you've spotted our power couple," Edmund observed. "Lucas Payton and his fiancée, Zavira Nightshade. Perpetually engaged, those two. 6 years without a wedding date." For the next hour, Josie circulated strategically, always maintaining awareness of Lucas's position. The anticipation built with each passing minute. Her phone vibrated with a text from Kairos. "Nightshade Genomics Whistleblower Press Conference scheduled for tomorrow. Coordinates with your timeline." "Ms. Rose," a familiar voice called. Zachariah Frost approached in his tuxedo. "Chicago welcomes its newest financial luminary." Josie smiled genuinely. "Zachariah, please, a pleasure to finally meet face to face. I've arranged everything as discussed. Lucas will certainly notice our conversation." "Excellent." Josie positioned herself to ensure Lucas had a clear view. Have our mutual friends at the Regulatory Commission received the Nightshade documents? Delivered anonymously last week, the investigation launches formally tomorrow. Justice, Josie stated smoothly, not revenge. Is there a difference when it tastes this sweet? Zachariah clinked his glass against hers. And right on cue, the devil himself approaches. Zachariah, Lucas's voice carried that familiar authoritative tone. I wasn't aware you'd returned from London. Lucas, Zachariah nodded coolly, just in time to welcome Chicago's newest powerhouse. He gestured toward Josie. Have you met J.R. Rose? Lucas turned, his gray eyes meeting Josie's for the first time in 6 years. No recognition flickered in his gaze, only professional curiosity as he extended his hand. Lucas Peyton, welcome to Chicago, Ms. Rose. Josie accepted his handshake, savoring the momentary advantage. His touch sent an unwelcome current through her fingers. Does it? She replied, holding his gaze steadily. And what reputation is that, Mr. Peyton? Something in her voice gave him pause. His eyes narrowed slightly, studying her features more carefully. The financial world calls you the restorer, taking failing companies and reviving them, quite different from my approach. Yes, Josie agreed. I prefer to build rather than devour. Lucas tilted his head, uncertainty crossing his expression. Have we met before? Perhaps in another life, Josie responded enigmatically. Zavara materialized at Lucas's side, her calculating gaze assessing Josie instantly. Darling, the commissioner is waiting. Zavara Nightshade, she introduced herself to Josie with glacial politeness, chief operations officer at Peyton Ventures and Lucas's fiancée. Perpetually engaged, I understand, Josie commented deliberately. 6 years is an unusually long engagement. Zavara's smile froze. We prioritize our business partnership. When you finally produce an heir, you mean, Zachariah interjected. Isn't that the holdup, Lucas? Lucas's jaw tightened. Our personal matters aren't suitable gala conversation. Curious, Josie interjected, how life gives us exactly what we deserve. Those who reject their children often find themselves unable to have others. Lucas's eyes snapped back to her face, recognition finally dawning, slowly at first, then crashing over him in a visible wave. His face drained of color. Josie, he whispered. J.R. Rose, Josie corrected calmly, though I once answered to another name. Impossible, Lucas breathed. You disappeared. I wasn't lost, Lucas, Josie replied coldly. I was transforming. Zavara recovered first. How lovely to see you again. Lucas often speaks of his regrets regarding your situation. Does he? Josie turned. Does he regret believing your lies about his infertility, or perhaps denying his own children publicly? The color drained from Zavara's face. I don't know what your Eclipse Tower offers an excellent view into Apex's executive floor, Josie interrupted smoothly. I selected it specifically. Just as I've selected the timing of Nightshade Genomics whistleblower press conference tomorrow. Understanding dawned in Zavira's eyes. You're behind the regulatory investigation. Justice arrives in many forms, Josie replied, some faster than others. Lucas seemed to regain his composure. You said children, plural. The twins survived despite your best efforts, Josie confirmed. Identical boys, 6 years old now, brilliant beyond measure. I want to see them, Lucas demanded immediately. If they're truly mine. DNA confirmed it years ago, Josie cut him off. The tests you claim to have, falsified. Lucas's expression shifted from shock to calculation. We should discuss this privately. Not tonight. Tonight was merely about recognition, Lucas, ensuring you understand exactly who has moved in across from your tower. As she walked away, Josie felt Lucas's gaze burning into her back. In the limousine, she allowed herself a single deep breath. "Phase 1 complete," she whispered. Her phone chimed with a message from Ajax. "Security breach attempt at Eclipse Tower. Systems held. Origin. Peyton Ventures." A second message appeared from Dr. Wolf. "Genetic abnormality identified in subject XN. Terminal within 3 to 5 years. No treatment. Source confirmed." Josie stared at the message. Severa was dying. The information wasn't part of her revenge, yet it would undoubtedly impact Lucas's future and her son's inheritance. When the limousine arrived at Eclipse Tower, Josie checked on the twins. They slept peacefully, identical positions, synchronized breathing. Looking at them, she saw Lucas, undeniably. The shape of their eyes, the set of their jaws, even in sleep. Her phone vibrated with an incoming call. Lucas. She declined it, watching text messages follow. "We need to talk. Those are my sons. You can't keep them from me. Please, Josie." That last message, the plea, almost penetrated her armor. Almost. She typed a single response. 6 years too late. In her command center, Josie activated the surveillance system. Lucas paced his penthouse, phone in hand, expression anguished. She watched as he attempted to call her repeatedly. Finally, he hurled the phone against the wall in frustration. Severa entered the frame, her body language hostile. Their argument was evident even without audio. Accusations, denials. Severa's desperate attempts to maintain control. Lucas pointed at her accusingly, clearly questioning the infertility narrative she'd constructed years ago. Severa's response was defensive, then shifted to attack. She gestured toward a photo visible on a side table, Josie's twins. Their argument escalated until Severa grabbed her purse and stormed out, leaving Lucas alone, staring at the photograph. Josie deactivated the surveillance, the hollow victory less satisfying than she'd anticipated. Phase 1 had succeeded perfectly. Why then did she feel this unexpected emptiness? The answer came as she turned to find both twins standing in the doorway, observing with their usual analytical detachment. "You saw him," Ezekiel stated, not a question. "Did he cry?" Elijah asked, his voice neutral. Josie hesitated. "Not yet. But he will," they responded in unison, with certainty that chilled Josie. "This isn't about making him suffer," she reminded them. "Isn't it?" Ezekiel challenged, sounding far older than 6. Josie had no answer that wouldn't be a lie. Instead, she guided them back to bed, tucking them in with methodical care. "Tomorrow," she promised, "we continue." After they fell asleep, Josie returned to the wall of windows facing Apex Tower. Lucas's penthouse remained illuminated, the lone figure visible pacing restlessly. "Phase 2 begins," she whispered. "Ready or not?" Chapter 7. Escalation. Nightshade Genomics. CEO Zivera, Nightshade, faces federal investigation. The headlines dominated every financial news channel as Josie prepared the twins for their first day at Westerly Academy. She kept the sound muted, but the scrolling text told the story. Whistleblower allegations, unauthorized human trials, stock prices plummeting. "Is that her?" Elijah asked, pointing to Zavera's furious face on the screen as reporters swarmed her. "Yes," Josie confirmed, straightening his uniform tie. "The woman who lied to your father." "The woman who made him throw you out," Ezekiel added, his expression unnervingly calm. "Focus on school today," Josie redirected. "Remember our agreement. No talking about father," they recited in unison. "No telling anyone who we are." "Good." Josie checked their matching navy blazers embroidered with the prestigious Academy's crest. "Ajax will drive you today. I have meetings." In truth, she had only one meeting, the one Lucas had been demanding since their encounter at the gala 3 days prior. She'd strategically delayed, allowing the Nightshade scandal to unfold fully, watching as Peyton Ventures' stock dropped 17 points. Her secure phone buzzed with Kairos's update. Lucas separated himself from Nightshade operations this morning. Board meeting called for noon. Severa fighting to maintain control. Everything proceeding according to plan. The carefully planted whistleblower had performed perfectly, presenting irrefutable evidence of Severa's directive to bypass safety protocols. After the twins departed with Ajax, Josie prepared for her confrontation with Lucas. She selected a crisp white power suit, deliberate contrast to the red gown of their first encounter. Clinical, businesslike, armored. Her phone hadn't stopped receiving messages from Lucas. We need to discuss the boys. This isn't about us. It's about my sons. You can't keep them from me legally. Please, Josie, just meet with me. She'd finally agreed to a meeting at Eclipse Tower. Her territory, her terms. The surveillance feeds showed Lucas had barely slept, making frantic calls, researching the twins, attempting to salvage Peyton Ventures from Severa's scandal. At precisely 9 a.m., the security desk announced Lucas's arrival. Josie instructed them to escort him to the 40th floor conference room, the one with the perfect view of his own tower across the street. She deliberately made him wait 15 minutes, watching through hidden cameras as he paced the room, pausing occasionally to stare at Apex Tower through the floor-to-ceiling windows. When she finally entered, Lucas turned sharply, his normally immaculate appearance disrupted by visible exhaustion. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, his silver-templed hair less perfectly styled than usual. "Josie," he breathed, taking an instinctive step toward her before stopping himself. "Mr. Peyton," she responded coolly, taking her position at the head of the conference table. "You requested this meeting. You have 30 minutes. "Drop the act," Lucas snapped, his composure fracturing. 6 years, Josie. 6 years you kept my sons from me." "Your sons?" Josie arched an eyebrow. "I believe you publicly stated, and I quote, 'I have no children.' The press conference announcing your engagement to Severa." "Remember," Lucas flinched, "I was operating under false information." "Information you chose to believe," Josie corrected. "Information you used to humiliate me publicly, throw me into the street while pregnant, and cut off all financial support." "I made a terrible mistake," Lucas admitted, running a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture she remembered from their marriage. "Severa manipulated medical records, convinced me of my infertility." "Stop!" Josie's voice cut like ice. "You don't get to blame her alone. You chose to believe the worst about me without evidence. You chose cruelty over compassion. You nearly killed your own children with your actions." Lucas paled visibly. "Were there complications?" "Placental abruption from the stress and physical handling by your security team. The twins were born at 32 weeks. They nearly died." Lucas sank into a chair, the weight of this revelation crushing him. "I didn't know." "Because you didn't want to know," Josie stated flatly. "Now, 6 years later, when they're healthy, successful, and bear your undeniable features, suddenly you're interested." "I want to meet them," Lucas said, his voice raw with emotion she'd never heard before. "They're my sons, Josie. Legally." "Legally, you have no rights," Josie interrupted. "You signed them away. The documentation Dr. Wolf sent you with their paternity results included a formal notification of paternity. You had 60 days to contest or claim parental rights. You did neither." Lucas looked genuinely stunned. "I never received—" "Delivery was confirmed to your office," Josie countered smoothly. "Whether Severa intercepted it is irrelevant. The legal period has expired." "I'll fight this," Lucas warned, desperation creeping into his voice. "DNA proves they're mine." "By all means, try," Josie replied with cold confidence. "The The judge will see a father who publicly denied his children, never paid support, never attempted contact, while I single-handedly raised them into exceptional children. This is revenge, Lucas accused, for what happened between us. No, Josie corrected. This is consequence. You made your choice 6 years ago. Now you live with it. Lucas leaned forward, his expression shifting from desperation to calculation, the businessman emerging. What do you want, Josie? Money? Shares in Peyton Ventures? Public apology? You think you can buy access to the twins? Josie laughed bitterly. I'm worth more than you now, Lucas. Eclipse Investments outperformed Peyton Ventures for the last 3 quarters. Then what? He demanded. Everyone has a price. That's where you're wrong. Josie stood, indicating the meeting was ending. You destroyed my life based on lies. You denied your own children. You stole my architectural designs for Riverside Quarter without credit. There is no price that erases those actions. Lucas remained seated, studying her with newfound wariness. You've systematically positioned yourself against me, Eclipse Tower, the Nightshade whistleblower, even partnering with Zachariah Frost. This is a coordinated attack. Finally, Josie smiled coldly. You're beginning to understand. I underestimated you, Lucas admitted, but this war hurts innocent people. Our children are thriving, Josie cut him off, and will continue to thrive, with or without you. At least tell me about them, Lucas pleaded, his voice softening. Their names, what they're like. Josie hesitated, then relented slightly. Ezekiel and Elijah, identical twins with an extremely rare antibody-sharing condition. Brilliant beyond their years. They excel at mathematics, chess, and strategic thinking. They sound remarkable, Lucas said, genuine pride warming his voice. Like their mother. And their father, Josie acknowledged reluctantly. They have your analytical mind, your eyes, your determination. Please, Lucas tried again. A supervised visit. Anywhere you choose. Not yet, Josie replied. They know about you, the basics. They know you rejected them based on lies. They know we're back in Chicago to reclaim what's ours. What's yours? Lucas frowned. What exactly are you planning, Josie? Justice, she answered simply, moving toward the door. Your 30 minutes are up, Mr. Peyton. This isn't over, Lucas called after her. Josie paused in the doorway. It's barely begun. After Lucas departed, Josie's phone chimed with a message from the twins' school. Both boys aced placement exams, recommended advancement to 3rd grade curriculum. Pride swelled within her. Even amid this storm of revenge and retribution, her sons continued to thrive. A second message appeared, from Dr. Wolf. Zevera's medical results confirmed. Terminal prognosis 2 to 3 years maximum. Neurological degeneration will accelerate quickly. Josie absorbed this information with complex emotions. Zevera's impending death wasn't her doing, yet it altered the landscape of her carefully planned revenge. Would Lucas stay with a dying fiancé out of obligation? How would this affect his pursuit of the twins? Her strategic calculations were interrupted by Damia's urgent voice. Ms. Rose, there's a situation. Mr. Peyton is attempting to enter Westerly Academy. The school called. He's claiming paternal rights to see the twins. Josie's blood ran cold. Call Ajax immediately. Get to the school before Lucas. Activate protocol firewall. She rushed to her private elevator, heart pounding. This wasn't part of the plan. Lucas was moving faster, more desperately than anticipated. As her car sped toward Westerly Academy, Josie received confirmation that Ajax had arrived first, intercepting Lucas at the administration office before he could reach the twins. The boys are secure, Ajax reported. Lucas is being detained by security for attempting unauthorized access. Relief washed through her, followed immediately by cold fury. Lucas had escalated far beyond her expectations, attempting to circumvent her authority and approach the twins directly. When she arrived at the school, Lucas was being escorted from the property, his expression thunderous. Their eyes met briefly across the parking lot, his filled with desperate determination, hers with implacable resolve. Inside the administration office, the headmistress looked deeply concerned. "Ms. Rose, this is highly irregular. Mr. Peyton presented identification and claimed to be the boy's father." "Mr. Peyton has no legal rights regarding my sons," Josie stated firmly, producing the necessary documentation. "As you can see, I have sole legal custody. Any unauthorized contact attempts should be reported immediately." After reinforcing security protocols with the school, Josie found the twins waiting in a private conference room, eerily calm despite the chaos. "Father tried to see us," Elijah stated matter-of-factly. "How did you know?" Josie asked, surprised. "We saw him through the classroom window," Ezekiel explained. "We recognized him from the surveillance feeds at home." Of course, they had been watching the surveillance. Josie shouldn't have been surprised. "Are you okay?" she asked, kneeling to their level. The twins exchanged one of their silent communications before Elijah spoke for both. "We were curious, but we followed protocol." "Good boys," Josie praised, hugging them close. "This isn't how I planned your first meeting." "When will we meet him properly?" Ezekiel asked. "When the time is right," Josie assured them. "When he's earned it." That evening, Lucas's desperate actions triggered an acceleration of Josie's timeline. She initiated Phase 3, the systematic dismantling of Lucas's corporate structure through targeted acquisitions of his suppliers. Zachariah confirms his investors will support our hostile takeover of Meridian Manufacturing, Kairos reported during their emergency conference call. Without their component supply, Riverside Quarter construction halts within weeks. "Proceed," Josie authorized, "and prepare legal documents restricting Lucas from approaching the twins again without my written consent." Later, as she tucked the boys into bed, Elijah asked quietly, "Are you angry Father tried to see us?" "Not angry," Josie corrected, "concerned about his methods." "He's desperate," Ezekiel observed with unsettling insight. "Desperate people make mistakes." "Like he did with you," Elijah added. Josie studied their identical faces, so much like Lucas's yet uniquely their own. "Yes, and he'll need to prove he's learned from those mistakes before he earns a place in your lives." "If he does," Ezekiel began. "Will you forgive him?" Elijah finished. The question caught Josie off guard. Forgiveness had never been part of her 6-year plan. Vindication, justice, restoration. But forgiveness? That's a question for another day, she deflected. After the twins fell asleep, Josie returned to her command center, where the surveillance system showed Lucas in his office, surrounded by legal documents, making frantic calls. His desperation was evident in every gesture, every expression. Her phone buzzed with a message from an encrypted number. "You've made your point. Let me see my sons. Name your terms. LP." Josie smiled coldly. Lucas Peyton, the mighty devourer, reduced to begging. Phase 3 was proceeding exactly as planned. "Your move," she whispered to his distant figure on the screen. Chapter 8. Confrontation. Peyton Ventures stock plummets 40% following supplier acquisition. The headlines confirmed Josie's strategy was working. 2 weeks after Lucas's attempt to see the twins at school, her systematic dismantling of his supply chain had crippled Riverside Quarter development. Construction halted, investors panicked, and Peyton Ventures faced its first quarterly loss in a decade. "The board is meeting this afternoon," Kairos reported. "Lucas is fighting to maintain control." And Zavara, Josie asked. Placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. Her condition is still private, but she's showing early symptoms, tremors, occasional disorientation. Josie's intercom buzzed. Ms. Rose, the twins' school is calling. Put them through immediately. The headmistress's voice was tense. Ms. Rose, there's been an incident. The boys are fine, but Ms. Nightshade appeared at dismissal, claiming to be authorized to pick them up. Security detained her. I'm on my way, Josie responded, already signaling for Ajax. When she arrived at Westerly Academy, Zavara sat in the security office, composed despite her detention. Her suit couldn't hide the subtle tremor in her hands. Josie, Zavara acknowledged coldly, still hiding behind security. You attempted to remove my children without authorization, Josie stated. That's attempted kidnapping. Dramatic as ever, Zavara scoffed. I merely wanted to meet Lucas's sons. Where is Lucas? Did he send you? Lucas has no idea I'm here. He's too busy saving what you're destroying. Josie studied her nemesis carefully. Then why are you here? Curiosity, Zavara replied, though her expression suggested deeper motives. 6 years I gave Lucas. 6 years trying to give him children he suddenly claims to want so desperately. Understanding dawned. You know your diagnosis. Zavara's composure slipped. 3 years maximum. Progressive neural degeneration. Quite ironic for someone who built a biotech empire. I didn't wish this on you, Josie said honestly. Didn't you? Zavara challenged. The twins appeared in the doorway, having slipped away from their teacher. They stood shoulder to shoulder, observing Zavara with identical calculating expressions. You should be in class, Josie admonished. We wanted to see her, Ezekiel explained. The woman who lied about us, Elijah elaborated. Zavara's eyes widened as she took in their appearance, undeniably Lucas in miniature with Josie's complexion. Extraordinary. He never stood a chance, did he? Boys, please return to class, Josie instructed firmly. They obeyed without protest, though their synchronized backward glance at Zavara conveyed unsettling intensity. They're exactly like him, Zavara observed after they departed. That analytical coldness. They're children, Josie defended. They're weapons, Zavara countered. And you've aimed them perfectly at Lucas's heart. Are you pressing charges, Ms. Nightshade, or shall security escort you out? I'm dying, Josie, Zavara stated bluntly. My crimes against you will be punished by nature more thoroughly than your revenge ever could. Justice finds its way, Josie replied evenly. Does it? Zavara smiled grimly. Then consider this. I manipulated Lucas, yes. Created false evidence, fed his insecurities. But I never forced him to throw you out publicly. I never made him deny those children. His cruelty was his own. The words struck deeper than Josie wanted to admit. You've said your piece. Now leave. I'll be gone soon enough, Zavara agreed, standing with dignity despite her trembling hands. But before I go, know this. Lucas truly loves those boys, despite never meeting them. Love doesn't excuse what he did, Josie insisted. No, Zavara agreed surprisingly. It doesn't. But those boys deserve to know their father before it's too late. After Zavara departed, Josie found the twins waiting in her car, unnervingly calm. She's dying, Elijah stated matter-of-factly. How did you know? Josie asked, startled. Her hands trembled at 4.2 oscillations per second, Ezekiel explained. Neurodegenerative indicator. And her pupils were asymmetrically dilated, Elijah added. Progressive condition. Is father responsible for her lies? Ezekiel asked directly. The question echoed Zavara's parting statement. They made choices together, Josie answered carefully. But you only punish him, Elijah noted. She's already being punished, Josie replied. by circumstances beyond my control. The twins exchanged one of their silent communications before nodding in synchrony. That evening, Ajax announced an unexpected visitor. "Mr. Peyton is in the lobby, demanding to see you. He appears distraught." Surveillance footage confirmed it. Lucas looked disheveled, his normally immaculate appearance disrupted by what appeared to be a physical altercation. "Send him up," Josie decided, "but maintain security protocols." Lucas stormed into her office, a darkening bruise on his cheekbone and fury in his eyes. "You had Zavera arrested?" he demanded. "I did nothing of the sort," Josie replied calmly. "She attempted to remove the twins from school without authorization. Security detained her briefly, then released her." "She's sick, Josie," Lucas said, his voice breaking slightly. "I'm aware of her diagnosis. It doesn't excuse attempted kidnapping." Lucas paced the office, agitation evident. "This vendetta has gone far enough. You've decimated my company, frozen my projects, turned my board against me. What more do you want?" "Justice," Josie answered simply. "For what?" "A mistake I made 6 years ago based on deliberate misinformation. I've apologized. I've begged. What will it take for this to end?" "I can't change the past," Lucas admitted, slumping into a chair. He pulled a worn file from his briefcase and placed it on the table. "But I've been trying to fix what I can." Josie opened the file to find legal documents. The Riverside Quarter project renamed Rose Peyton Commons, with full architectural credit restored to her. Behind that were financial statements showing substantial donations to Ascension House, the women's shelter that had helped her during pregnancy. Most surprising was a letter to the Architectural Association formally acknowledging that the award-winning sustainable design concepts had originated with Josie. "I've been doing this since I received Dr. Wolf's paternity confirmation," Lucas explained quietly. "Not for forgiveness, just because it was right." "Why didn't you make this public?" she asked. "Use it to improve your image?" "Because it wasn't about me," he answered simply. "Please, Josie, let me know my sons." Something in his genuine desperation reached a part of Josie she'd thought long buried. Before she could respond, the office door opened to reveal the twins, who had clearly been listening. "We've decided to evaluate you," Ezekiel announced, his tone carefully measured. "Under controlled conditions," Elijah specified, maintaining clear distance from Lucas. "To determine if further interaction is warranted," Ezekiel continued. "Not forgiveness. Not yet." Josie noticed the subtle, protective positioning the twins had adopted, slightly angled toward her, their bodies creating a barrier between her and Lucas. "I understand," Lucas replied solemnly. "I wouldn't expect immediate acceptance. I've done nothing to earn it. Your architectural credit for Mother's designs was the first step," Ezekiel acknowledged. "The donations to Ascension House were noted," Elijah added, "but insufficient." Lucas nodded, accepting their assessment. "What would you suggest as a starting point?" The twins exchanged their silent communication before responding. "One supervised meeting per week," Ezekiel proposed cautiously. "In neutral locations," Elijah stipulated, "with Mother present at all times. We reserve the right to terminate any session," they added simultaneously. "I accept your terms," Lucas replied, addressing them as equals rather than children. The twins turned to Josie. "We'll begin tomorrow." "Chess in the park," Ezekiel specified. 3 o'clock. "Tomorrow, then?" Lucas asked cautiously. Josie nodded reluctantly. "The twins have spoken. But understand this. Your relationship with them is separate from any resolution between us. I haven't forgiven what you did." "I don't expect forgiveness," Lucas replied quietly. "Just opportunity to know my sons. Good news, Mr. Peter is getting better and will take more rest to be fully fit. It's a good practice for him. Chapter 9. Chess Match Central Park gleamed under autumn sunlight as Josie arrived with the twins for their scheduled meeting with Lucas. She deliberately selected a public location, neutral ground with plenty of witnesses should Lucas attempt anything impulsive. Ajax shadowed them at a discreet distance, a reassuring presence despite his imposing size. The twins wore matching navy blazers and crisp white shirts, miniature businessmen ready for negotiations rather than children meeting their father. Their solemn expressions betrayed nothing of the excitement they'd exhibited that morning while preparing, their usual synchronicity briefly disrupted by individual nervousness they'd quickly masked. Lucas waited at the stone chess tables, two boards already set up with tournament-quality pieces. He dressed in casual elegance, charcoal slacks and a steel blue sweater that emphasized his eyes, the same eyes that watched her from her sons' faces every day. 6 years had weathered him in ways that suited him, silver at his temples lending gravitas to his still handsome features. "You came," he said simply, his gaze moving from Josie to the twins with barely concealed emotion. "We said we would," the twins replied in perfect unison, studying Lucas with analytical detachment. "Ezekiel, Elijah." Lucas nodded formally, visibly restraining himself from reaching for them. "Thank you for suggesting this meeting." Josie remained a step behind her sons, allowing them this moment while maintaining protective proximity. "Remember our agreement," she reminded Lucas. 1 hour. No personal questions without their permission. "Understood," Lucas acknowledged, gesturing to the chess tables. "I thought perhaps we might play while we talk. I hear you're quite accomplished." The twins exchanged a glance before taking their seats opposite him at separate boards. Without discussion, Ezekiel selected white pieces, Elijah black, an arrangement they'd clearly predetermined. "They'll destroy you," Josie warned Lucas quietly. "They're ranked in junior tournaments." "I welcome the challenge," Lucas replied, his eyes never leaving the boys. "I was city champion 3 years running in college." "Amateur rankings," Ezekiel noted dismissively. "We study grandmaster strategies," Elijah added, arranging his pieces with mathematical precision. Lucas smiled, a genuine expression Josie hadn't seen directed at her in years. "Then I shall learn from the masters." The games began simultaneously. Ezekiel opened aggressively with a queen's gambit, while Elijah employed a subtle Sicilian defense. Their styles complemented each other perfectly, as if they were playing a coordinated match, despite being at separate boards. Lucas held his own initially, his business acumen translating well to strategic gameplay. But Josie noticed the moment he began to realize the true extent of the twins' abilities, the slight widening of his eyes, the thoughtful pause before each move growing longer. "Extraordinary," he murmured as Elijah sacrificed a bishop in what appeared to be a blunder, but revealed itself as an elegant trap 3 moves later. "You think at least 8 moves ahead." 12, Elijah corrected without looking up. "When playing together, 15, Ezekiel added, advancing his knight in a move that somehow complemented his brother's strategy despite being on a separate board. Josie watched Lucas carefully, noting his genuine fascination. He wasn't patronizing them or letting them win. He was being thoroughly outplayed and responding with admiration rather than frustration. "Your cognitive mapping is exceptional," Lucas observed. "Do you communicate your strategies to each other?" "Not verbally," Ezekiel replied, capturing Lucas's rook. "Not necessary," Elijah elaborated, mirroring his brother's attack pattern on his own board. "Checkmate," they announced simultaneously, though their board positions were entirely different. Lucas laughed, a warm, genuine sound that unexpectedly transported Josie back to happier times. "Thoroughly defeated by 6-year-olds, my board members would enjoy this spectacle." Your board is preparing to vote on your removal as CEO next Thursday, Elijah stated matter-of-factly. Lucas's smile faded, surprise evident in his expression. How could you possibly know that? That information is restricted to board members only. We access information, Ezekiel shrugged, resetting his chess pieces. And analyze patterns, Elijah added, mirroring his brother's movements. Josie intervened, concerned about how much the twins were revealing about their information-gathering abilities. That's enough chess for today. Perhaps we should walk. Ice cream first, the twins countered in unison, pointing to a nearby vendor with the first childlike enthusiasm they'd displayed since arriving. When Lucas immediately stood to comply, Josie recognized their strategy, creating a moment alone with their father. Reluctantly, she allowed it, watching carefully from a distance as Lucas approached the vendor with a child on each side. The sight affected her more than anticipated. Lucas Peyton, corporate titan, standing patiently while his sons deliberated between chocolate and strawberry with the grave seriousness they applied to everything. For a moment, they looked like any normal family enjoying a Sunday in the park. Lucas returned carrying 3 cones, surprisingly offering one to Josie, vanilla with caramel swirl, her favorite from years ago. The gesture, simple but meaningful, caught her off guard. He remembered. "They're remarkable, Josie," he said quietly, while the twins sampled their selections a few steps away. "Brilliant beyond anything I could have imagined. They've been through specialized testing at MIT's Cognitive Development Program," Josie admitted. "Their abilities exceed measurable standards in multiple categories." "Like their mother," Lucas acknowledged, his gaze softening. "And their father," Josie conceded grudgingly, accepting the ice cream but maintaining emotional distance. The twins returned, their faces uncharacteristically animated after their brief private conversation with Lucas while ordering ice cream. "We've decided to permit additional interactions," Ezekiel announced in his formal manner. "Weekly meetings," Elijah specified. "Still supervised, but with extended parameters." "They've also expressed interest in my work," Lucas added cautiously, looking to Josie for permission to continue. "I suggested showing them Riverside Quarter development. The architectural aspects might interest them." Josie tensed immediately. "The project you stole from me." "The project that should have had your name alongside mine," Lucas corrected, holding her gaze. "A mistake I'm prepared to rectify publicly." "6 years too late," Josie replied coldly. "Better late than never," Lucas countered. "The foundation of that development was your vision, Josie, your sustainable community concept, your integration of green spaces with urban functionality." The twins observed this exchange with calculating interest, their eyes moving between parents like spectators at a tennis match. "Your ecological water system implementation is flawed," Ezekiel informed Lucas bluntly. "We've studied the plans," Elijah explained. "The filtration cycle is inefficient." Lucas looked genuinely startled. "How did you access those plans?" "They're proprietary." The twins simply smiled identically, neither confirming nor denying their methods. "Like mother, like sons," Lucas murmured, impressed despite himself. "Perhaps you could show me where the flaws are? Both of you have inherited your mother's architectural instincts, it seems." Before Josie could object to this transparent attempt to secure another meeting, her phone buzzed with an urgent security alert. "Eclipse Tower security breach. Unknown origin. Systems compromised." Lucas's phone chimed simultaneously with the same distinctive tone that Peyton Ventures used for critical situations. His expression darkened as he read the message. "Apex Tower as well. Same timestamp. This is a coordinated attack." The twins exchanged one of their silent communications. "Severa," they stated in perfect unison. "Impossible," Lucas shook his head firmly. "She's at home under medical supervision. Her condition has worsened. She can barely operate a computer." "Check," Ezekiel insisted. Lucas made a call, his expression growing increasingly concerned as he listened to the response. She's gone, he confirmed after ending the call. Left the house 3 hours ago. No one knows where she is. This meeting wasn't coincidental, Josie realized aloud. She waited until both of us were away from our offices. But what could she possibly gain? Lucas wondered, already signaling his driver. Her access to patent systems was revoked weeks ago. Revenge, the twins answered simultaneously, logical response to perceived betrayal. Lucas stared at his sons, unsettled by their clinical assessment. You understand her motivation that clearly? We understand strategy, Ezekiel clarified. And consequences, Elijah added. As they hurried toward their respective vehicles, Josie caught Lucas's arm. This isn't over between us, she warned. One chess game doesn't erase 6 years. No, he agreed, his eyes serious, but perhaps it's a beginning rather than an ending. Ajax appeared at Josie's side, his expression grim. Ms. Rose, we need to move. Eclipse security reports multiple breaches, financial servers, personal files, surveillance systems. My children's files? Josie demanded, suddenly fearful. Specifically targeted, Ajax confirmed. Medical records, school information, DNA profiles, all accessed. Lucas's face hardened with protective fury. She's going after the boys, using their existence as leverage. Against both of us, Josie realized. We need to work together, Lucas stated firmly. Combined resources, shared information, at least until this threat is neutralized. Josie hesitated, years of carefully constructed walls resistant to this sudden alliance. The twins, however, had no such reservations. Logical solution, they pronounced together. Optimal strategy requires unified response, Ezekiel elaborated. Divided approach increases vulnerability, Elijah concluded. Josie looked from her sons to their father, recognizing the identical determination in their expressions. Temporary alliance, she conceded reluctantly, until Zavera is contained. I'll have my security team coordinate with Ajax, Lucas nodded, already making calls as he walked toward his waiting car. And Josie? Thank you for today. Despite this interruption, it meant everything. As the twins climbed into their secure vehicle, Josie found herself at a crossroads, the carefully orchestrated revenge she'd planned for 6 years now, complicated by unexpected variables. Zavara's desperate final moves, Lucas's genuine remorse, and most significantly, her son's clear desire to know their father. The chess pieces remained on the tables, the match unfinished, much like the complex game still playing out between herself and Lucas. But for the first time, Josie wondered if the endgame might be different than she'd originally planned. Are we going to stop her? Elijah asked as they drove toward Eclipse Tower, his usual composure briefly giving way to childlike concern. Together with father, Ezekiel added, the term coming more naturally to his lips now. Josie looked at her extraordinary sons, the perfect blend of herself and Lucas, and recognized that the next move in this game wasn't entirely hers to make. Yes, she decided, together. Chapter 10. Convergence. The Eclipse Tower Command Center hummed with tense energy as Josie's team worked alongside Lucas's security experts. Screens displayed breached systems, compromised files, and a disturbing pattern of attack focused primarily on the twins' information. She's assembled a comprehensive profile, Kairos reported, gesturing to the data trail. Medical records, school files, DNA profiles, and Dr. Wolf's research. But why? Josie questioned, pacing the room. What could Zavera possibly gain from this information? The twins sat quietly in the corner, observing the adults with their usual analytical detachment. Occasionally, they whispered to each other, their private conversation inaudible to everyone else. Leverage, Lucas suggested, studying the pattern of breaches. Or perhaps something more personal. He hesitated before continuing. Severa underwent extensive fertility treatments attempting to conceive. She was obsessed with having my child. And now she's dying, Josie concluded, while the children she tried to erase are thriving. A neurological condition like hers can affect judgment, increase paranoia and fixation, Dr. Wolf added via video conference. Combined with her existing personality traits. She's unpredictable, Lucas finished grimly. Not entirely, came Elijah's quiet voice from the corner. All heads turned toward the twins, who stood in perfect synchronization. We've analyzed her behavior patterns, Ezekiel explained. And cross-referenced with her medical prognosis, Elijah continued. 92% probability she's pursuing genetic redemption, they concluded together. Lucas frowned. Meaning what, exactly? Nightshade Genomics specialized in experimental gene therapy, Kairos realized aloud, including embryonic modifications. The medical records she stole, Josie connected. Dr. Wolf's research on their condition. She's been obsessed with this for years. Lucas nodded grimly. The fertility treatments we underwent weren't just attempts to conceive, they were experiments. She was fixated on creating the perfect child, even before her diagnosis. After seeing the twins' remarkable abilities, Kairos added, that obsession must have intensified. Horror dawned on Josie's face. She wants their DNA for some kind of treatment or experiment. Not treatment, Ezekiel corrected. Replacement, Elijah clarified. Lucas paled visibly. She believes she can somehow use their genetic material to create her own child? Her vision of perfection with my genetic contribution. The twins nodded in unison. Our antibody sharing condition makes us optimal candidates for experimental protocols she was developing. A chilling silence fell over the room as the implications settled. Severa wasn't just seeking revenge. She was pursuing a desperate, scientifically dubious attempt to create her own version of Lucas's children before her deteriorating condition claimed her life. We need to find her, Josie stated firmly. Every research facility connected to Nightshade Genomics needs to be searched. Already initiated, Kairos confirmed. But there are dozens globally, many operating under shell companies. Lucas stepped closer to Josie, lowering his voice. I know where she'd go. There's a private lab in Wisconsin, unmarked, off official records. It's where she conducted her most experimental work. Why didn't you tell investigators about this facility? Josie demanded. Because I helped finance it, Lucas admitted. Before I knew what she was doing there, it would have implicated me in her ethical violations. Josie's eyes hardened. Still protecting yourself at others' expense. I'm telling you now, Lucas countered, because our son's safety matters more than my reputation. Ezekiel looked up from the tablet he'd been studying, his expression serious. Time is a critical factor. His eyes met his brother's in silent communication. Elijah nodded, touching his mother's arm. Your conflict is understandable, but counterproductive. Ezekiel's gaze shifted between his parents. We need unified strategy. Josie and Lucas exchanged a look over their sons' heads, a reluctant acknowledgement of their point. I'll take a team to Wisconsin, Lucas decided. You stay here with the boys where it's secure. No, Josie contradicted immediately. I don't trust you to handle this alone. Then we go together, Lucas proposed. Ajax and my security team can protect the twins here in the secure floor. Unacceptable risk parameters, the twins objected simultaneously. We remain together, Ezekiel insisted. Family unit maintains optimal security, Elijah elaborated. Josie recognized the fear beneath their clinical assessment. These extraordinary boys were still children, afraid of losing parents they'd only just united. We stay together, she agreed finally. All of us. As preparations were made for their departure to Wisconsin, Josie found Lucas staring at surveillance footage of Zavera from weeks earlier, before her condition had visibly deteriorated. "You loved her once," Josie observed, neither accusation nor question. "I tried to," Lucas admitted, "after everything collapsed with us. But it was never—" He trailed off, unwilling to complete the thought. "Real?" Josie supplied. "Right," Lucas corrected, turning to face her. "Nothing ever felt right after you, Josie." The confession hung between them, unwelcome complication in an already complex situation. Before Josie could respond, Ajax announced their transportation was ready. The private helicopter lifted off from Eclipse Tower's rooftop landing pad 30 minutes later, carrying Josie, Lucas, the twins, and a tactical team including Kairos and Ajax. As Chicago's skyline receded behind them, Josie felt the strange convergence of past and present. Her carefully constructed revenge plan now transformed into a joint rescue mission alongside the very man she'd returned to destroy. The Wisconsin facility came into view after an hour's flight, an unremarkable concrete structure nestled in dense forest, deliberately designed to attract minimal attention. Satellite imagery showed a single vehicle parked outside, the luxury sedan Severa had taken from her Chicago residence. "She's alone," Lucas confirmed, studying the thermal imaging data. "Single heat signature in the main laboratory level." "Or she has accomplices waiting elsewhere," Josie countered, unwilling to assume anything. As the helicopter circled for landing, the twins pressed their faces to the windows, unusually animated for once. "Optimal insertion point is the north entrance," Ezekiel assessed. "Secondary power supply vulnerable at junction box C," Elijah added, somehow familiar with the facility's layout, despite never having seen it before. Lucas stared at his sons in astonishment. "How could you possibly know that?" The twins exchanged one of their looks. "We study everything," they replied simply. The landing proceeded according to plan. Silent approach, tactical team securing the perimeter. Despite Josie's objections, the twins refused to remain in the helicopter, insisting their knowledge of the facility's layout was crucial. "Stay behind us. Follow every instruction immediately," Josie ordered them sternly. For once, they nodded without argument, the gravity of the situation apparent even to their extraordinary minds. The facility's outer door yielded to Lucas's security override, a precaution he'd maintained despite distancing himself from Zivera's operations. The interior was clinically white, sterile, with the distinct medicinal smell of a research hospital. "Main laboratory is 2 levels down," Lucas directed, leading them toward a secure elevator. "Wait," Elijah whispered urgently. "Something's wrong." Ezekiel nodded in agreement. "System anomaly. The elevator—" Before he could finish, the lights throughout the facility flickered, then stabilized at half brightness. Emergency protocols engaging. "She knows we're here," Josie realized. Lucas immediately shifted strategy. "Stairwell access, eastern corridor." They moved swiftly through the facility, the twins staying protectively between their parents. When they reached the stairwell door, a computerized voice suddenly echoed through the building. "Security breach detected. Containment protocols initiated in 60 seconds. "Containment?" Josie questioned sharply. "Biohazard procedures," Lucas explained, his expression grim. "Seals all exits, initiates air filtration lockdown, will be trapped inside. 50 seconds to containment." Kairos gestured toward the stairwell. "We need to reach Zavira and override the system before lockdown completes. 40 seconds to containment." The group descended rapidly, Ajax taking point with tactical precision. The laboratory level appeared deserted at first glance, workstations abandoned, equipment idle. 30 seconds to containment. There, Lucas pointed toward a sealed glass chamber at the far end of the laboratory, a specialized clean room designed for the most sensitive genetic work. Inside, Severa Nightshade stood calmly before a complex array of equipment, her once immaculate appearance now disheveled, tremors visibly affecting her movements as she manipulated samples with determined focus. 20 seconds to containment. Severa, Lucas called out, approaching the glass partition. Stop this now. Override the containment protocol. She looked up, a smile spreading across her face as she spotted the twins. Perfect timing, she replied, her voice distorted through the intercom system. I was just preparing the extraction protocols. 10 seconds to containment. What have you done? Lucas demanded. Ensured my legacy, Severa replied simply. If I can't have your children, I'll create my own from theirs. Containment protocol complete, facility sealed. Alarms blared as security doors throughout the facility slammed shut, trapping them all inside with Severa and whatever dangerous experiment she had initiated. Chapter 11. Revelation. You can't possibly believe this will work, Josie challenged, approaching the glass partition separating them from Severa. Gene therapy can't cure your condition. Cure? Severa laughed, the sound brittle. I'm well past curing, Josie. This isn't about saving my life, it's about creating new life. The twins moved forward cautiously, studying Severa and her equipment with analytical interest rather than fear. Comprehensive reproductive genomics, Ezekiel observed. Attempting germline modification using our antibody sharing markers, Elijah added. Severa smiled at the twins with unsettling affection. Such extraordinary boys, Lucas's intelligence but without his weakness for sentiment, my determination without my defects. This is insane, Severa, Lucas stated firmly. Whatever you're attempting violates every ethical protocol in genetic research. Ethics, Severa's laugh turned bitter. You discarded ethics when you threw your pregnant wife into the street based on falsified evidence. We both did. You falsified my medical records, Lucas realized aloud. Made me believe I couldn't father children, then falsified the paternity results. A simple deception, Severa confirmed, adjusting settings with trembling hands. Men believe what they fear most. You feared Josie's ambition exceeding yours, feared being trapped in a marriage that limited your options. I merely provided convenient evidence. You destroyed our family, Josie accused. I merely exploited existing weaknesses, Severa countered. Lucas wanted an excuse. I provided one. Kairos had been quietly working on the security system. The containment protocol is hardwired. We can't override it remotely. Manual override is in the clean room, Lucas indicated, gesturing to a control panel near Severa. The twins had moved to a computer terminal, their fingers typing in coordination as they navigated the system. What are they doing? Ajax questioned. Trying to understand her research, Josie explained. They've been studying biology and genetics since Dr. Wolf began his research on their condition. Severa noticed their activities and smiled. Let them look. They'll understand the elegance of my solution. Solution to what? Lucas demanded. Continuation, Severa replied simply. My biological clock expired long before my ambition. Your sons carry genetic markers that could create a child superior to either of them individually. A perfect synthesis. Using stolen DNA to create your own child. Josie was horrified. A child that would be biologically related to my sons. A sister for them, Severa confirmed, her trembling hands betraying her condition. My final gift to Lucas, the daughter he always wanted. The revelation struck Lucas physically. I never told you I wanted a daughter. You did, Severa insisted. After the Bennett acquisition. You said if you ever had children, you wanted a daughter to inherit everything. I never said that to you, Lucas stated with sudden clarity. I said it to Josie, the night we closed the Bennett deal in our bedroom. You were monitoring us even then. Realization dawned. The extent of Zavira's obsession predated everything they had assumed, reaching back to the early days of Lucas and Josie's marriage. The twins looked up from the computer terminal, their expressions troubled. Her research is fundamentally flawed, Ezekiel announced. Genetic instability guaranteed at 97.3% probability, Elijah elaborated. Any embryo created would suffer catastrophic cellular degradation, they concluded. Severa's expression hardened. Your calculations are wrong. I've accounted for the instability factors. No, the twins corrected. You've miscalculated the antibody sharing mechanism. Our condition is dependent on twin development in utero, Ezekiel explained. Cannot be replicated in singular embryonic formation, Elijah finished. Severa's hands trembled more violently, her deteriorating control both physical and mental. You're trying to confuse me. It will work. It must work. Severa, Lucas approached the glass cautiously. You're ill. Your judgment is affected by your condition. Let us help you. Help me, she laughed bitterly. Like you helped Josie, discarding me at the first sign of trouble just as you did her. I made terrible mistakes, Lucas admitted. With both of you. But this isn't the way to create a legacy. It's the only way left to me, Zavera insisted, her voice breaking. 3 years they gave me. 3 years of watching my mind deteriorate while my body betrays me. What legacy can I possibly leave in that time? Truth, Josie suggested unexpectedly. You can leave the truth. Admit what you did. Give Lucas and these boys the closure they deserve. Something shifted in Zavira's expression, a flicker of the brilliant woman she had been before illness and obsession consumed her. The truth, she repeated, as if testing the concept. An interesting proposal from the woman who returned to Chicago on a mission of elaborate revenge. We both made choices, Josie acknowledged. Now we're both facing consequences. Containment override initiated, announced the computerized system suddenly. Deactivation in 60 seconds. What? Zavera turned sharply toward the terminal. Impossible. Kairos emerged from a side room, security access card in hand. Not impossible with the right tools. I found the emergency override terminal. And we distracted you, the twins added with matching smiles. Lucas nodded toward Kairos with appreciation. Always prepared. The containment alarm ceased, emergency lighting returning to normal illumination as security protocols disengaged throughout the facility. It's over, Zavera, Lucas stated gently. Whatever you were trying to create here can't work. The boys have confirmed it. And if they're wrong, Zavera challenged, defiance flaring, they're children, regardless of their abilities. We're not wrong, the twins replied with absolute certainty. Ajax stepped forward, addressing Lucas and Josie. We should secure her and report this facility to authorities. The research here violates multiple regulations. Severa straightened, smoothing her lab coat with trembling hands, a final attempt at dignity. That won't be necessary. I've prepared for this contingency. She pressed a sequence on her console before anyone could react. Data purge initiated, announced the computerized system. All research protocols will be eliminated in 30 seconds. Self-destruct? Kairos questioned urgently. Nothing so dramatic, Zavera assured them with a thin smile. Merely the elimination of anything controversial. My reputation, at least, will remain intact. As the computers throughout the facility began systematic deletion, Zavera's composure finally cracked. She sank into her chair, the tremors in her hands now extending to her entire body. It wasn't supposed to end this way, she whispered, suddenly looking older, smaller. None of it. Lucas approached the clean room door, which had unlocked with the containment override. "Come with us, Severa. We'll get you proper medical care." "Always the gentleman," she laughed bitterly. "Even now." "You need help," Lucas insisted. "What I need," Severa replied with sudden clarity, "is to tell the truth, as Josie suggested." She looked directly at the twins. "Your father never wanted to believe you weren't his. He looked for any excuse to reject that possibility, because accepting it meant accepting his love for your mother was real." The twins absorbed this statement with solemn expressions, glancing between their parents. "I falsified everything," Severa continued, seeming lighter with each confession. "The medical records claiming Lucas couldn't father children, the paternity test, all of it manufactured because I wanted what she had, not just Lucas, but the complete devotion he gave her." "Why tell them this now?" Josie questioned softly. "Because truth is the only legacy I have left," Severa answered simply. "And because they deserve to know their father's greatest weakness was never his pride, but his fear of being vulnerable as he was with you." The facility continued its systematic data purge, screens going dark throughout the laboratory. Severa watched impassively as her years of research disappeared. "What happens now?" Lucas asked as Ajax and the security team secured the area. "Now," Severa replied with surprising tranquility, "I face consequences, just as you said, Josie. How ironic that you came to Chicago seeking revenge, only to find it was already being exacted by nature itself." As they prepared to escort Severa from the facility, the twins approached her with identical expressions of scientific curiosity. "Your neurological degeneration," Ezekiel began. "We have questions about progression patterns," Elijah continued. Severa looked genuinely surprised, then laughed, a sound devoid of bitterness for the first time. "Even now, your magnificent minds see research opportunities rather than enemies. Perhaps that's the greatest revenge of all, Josie, raising sons who seek knowledge instead of retribution." Chapter 12. Resolution. 6 months later, Eclipse Tower's penthouse hosted an unexpected gathering. Dr. Thorne Wolfe presented his latest research findings to an attentive audience of medical specialists, with the twins occasionally interjecting questions that belied their 7 years. "The antibody sharing mechanism continues to evolve," Dr. Wolfe explained, displaying complex genetic imagery on the wall screen. "Their cellular communication has actually enhanced their neurological development, making their cognitive connection quantifiable," Ezekiel noted, "and potentially replicable in treating certain conditions," Elijah added. The twins had become central to groundbreaking medical research, their unique biology offering insights into treatments for immune disorders and neurological conditions, including the one slowly claiming Zavira's life. Since the Wisconsin incident, much had changed. Severa had entered a specialized care facility, her condition progressing rapidly but her mind finding peace in contributing to the twins' research. Her confession had been formalized in legal documents, clearing Lucas of involvement in Nightshade's ethical violations while acknowledging his negligence in oversight. Peyton Ventures had weathered the storm, emerging reorganized with Lucas still at the helm, but with significant structural changes. Most notably, the Riverside Quarter development had been renamed Rose Peyton Commons, with Josie's original architectural vision restored and credited properly. As the medical presentation concluded, Josie found herself on the penthouse balcony, watching Chicago's skyline glitter in the evening light. Lucas joined her, maintaining the respectful distance that characterized their carefully reconstructed relationship. "The research funding is secured," he informed her. "Anonymous donor provided the final $50 million. Josie smiled slightly. "Anonymous?" "Plausible deniability seemed wise," Lucas responded with matching humor. "The Foundation Board doesn't need to know it came from me." The Eclipse Children's Research Foundation had become the twins' legacy, a nonprofit dedicated to pediatric immunology research with Dr. Wolf as scientific director. They're presenting their own findings next month at Johns Hopkins, Josie noted with pride. 7 years old and already publishing in medical journals. With vocabulary most doctoral candidates would envy, Lucas added, his own pride evident. The comfortable silence between them reflected their evolved dynamic, not friends, not enemies, but co-parents united by extraordinary children and complicated history. "Have you decided about Severa's request?" Lucas asked finally, referencing the letter that had arrived that morning. "To see the boys one last time?" Josie sighed. "They want to go. They see her as a research subject as much as a person." "That clinical detachment concerns me sometimes," Lucas admitted. "They analyze everything so thoroughly, including human emotions." "They're learning," Josie defended. "Their empathy develops differently, but it's there. Look how they've embraced Zephyrine." The former fashion icon had become the twins' beloved honorary grandmother, bringing warmth and artistic perspective to balance their scientific inclinations. "And how they've forgiven me," Lucas added quietly. Josie studied him, the man who had once shattered her world, now humbled by circumstances, and their remarkable sons. 6 years of planning revenge had culminated not in destruction, but in an unexpected reconstruction. "They evaluate everything logically," Josie observed. "They determined your remorse was genuine, and your potential contribution to their lives outweighed past actions." "And you?" Lucas asked, meeting her gaze directly. "What does your evaluation conclude?" The question hung between them. The first time either had directly addressed their personal relationship since returning to Chicago. "My evaluation remains in progress," Josie answered honestly. "Some damages can't be undone, Lucas. Trust, once broken, doesn't simply reassemble." "I understand," he acknowledged, disappointment evident but acceptance prevailing. "I'm grateful for what we've achieved for the boys. It's more than I deserve." Inside, the twins had commandeered Dr. Wolf's presentation, elaborating on technical details with surprising authority. Their synchronized movements and complementary explanations captivated the audience of medical professionals. "I never imagined this outcome," Josie admitted, watching her sons. "When I returned to Chicago, I wanted you to suffer, as I had suffered. I wanted to destroy everything you built. You would have succeeded," Lucas acknowledged. "Your strategy was flawless." "But hollow," Josie realized aloud. "The twins understood that before I did. Revenge consumes the Avenger as much as the target." Lucas hesitated, then offered tentatively, "Perhaps we both needed to lose everything to appreciate what matters most." The twins appeared in the balcony doorway, their matching expressions serious. "We've decided to visit Zevira tomorrow," Ezekiel announced. "Her deterioration has accelerated," Elijah explained. "Statistical probability suggests limited coherent interactions remain." "We'll go together," Josie decided, meeting Lucas's surprised gaze. "Family unity provides optimal interaction parameters, correct?" The twins nodded in perfect synchrony, satisfied with this solution. "Family unity," Lucas repeated softly after the twins returned inside. "Is that what we've become?" "A unique configuration," Josie corrected, maintaining emotional boundaries, "defined by shared priorities rather than conventional structures." Lucas accepted this assessment with a nod. "I can work with that definition." As twilight deepened over Chicago, Josie reflected on the journey that had brought them here, from betrayal to revenge to this unexpected resolution. 6 years planning destruction had yielded instead a foundation for something new. Not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps understanding. Not reconciliation, but cooperation. The twins emerged again, this time carrying not chessboards, but architectural drafting tools, and a rolled blueprint. "We've been working on something," Ezekiel announced, his usual clinical tone softened with uncertainty. They unrolled the blueprint on the balcony table, a detailed design for a community research center addition to the Rose Payton Commons. "The Eclipse Children's Research Wing," Elijah explained, pointing to the elegant structure that perfectly complemented Josie's original design aesthetic while incorporating elements of Lucas's later additions. "You designed this?" Josie asked, genuinely impressed by the sophisticated integration of form and function. "Together," Ezekiel confirmed. "The East Wing is mine," Elijah clarified. "The West is mine," Ezekiel added. "But the central atrium—" Elijah hesitated. "We thought perhaps you both might collaborate on it," Ezekiel finished, the request carrying weight beyond architecture. Lucas studied the blueprint with visible emotion. "You've incorporated sustainability features beyond anything in the current design." "Mother's original vision," Elijah acknowledged. "With your implementation strengths," Ezekiel added. The metaphor wasn't subtle. The boys had created a blueprint for potential cooperation, a structure requiring both parents' contributions to complete. "Would you consider it?" Elijah asked, looking between his parents with rare vulnerability. Lucas met Josie's gaze across the table, neither pressuring nor expecting, simply waiting for her decision. 6 years ago, Josie Rose had returned to Chicago seeking vengeance against the man who had discarded her. Now she faced a different choice, not forgiveness or absolution, but the possibility of building something new rather than remaining anchored to past wounds. "I'll review the design," she agreed, pulling the blueprint closer as the twins exchanged subtle smiles of victory. As they played late into the evening, the unique family they had become, forged through pain, tempered by consequence, strengthened by extraordinary children, found an unexpected equilibrium. Not perfect, not conventional, but undeniably theirs. Justice, Josie realized, had come not through the revenge she'd planned, but through the truth finally acknowledged by all. The broken crown of her former life hadn't been restored. Instead, something entirely new had been built from its fragments. 3 months later, ground broke on the Eclipse Children's Research Wing at Rose Payton Commons. The twins stood centered between their parents at the ceremony, their faces serious as reporters documented the moment. "A unique collaboration," the development director announced, "between former rivals now united for children's medical research." The statement wasn't entirely accurate, but it wasn't entirely false either. The complicated truth existed in the careful space Josie maintained between herself and Lucas, in the weekly architectural meetings where they focused exclusively on the project, in the proud but measured way Lucas interacted with sons he was still getting to know. Later that evening, as the twins explained their latest research findings to Dr. Wolfe over video conference, Josie found Lucas on the balcony of the penthouse, where they now held their weekly co-parenting meetings. "The Foundation Board approved the expanded research grant," he informed her, maintaining the professional tone that characterized their interactions. "Full funding for the twins' antibody-sharing study." "Good," Josie acknowledged. "They'll be pleased." A moment of silence stretched between them, not comfortable, not uncomfortable, but weighted with unspoken history. "Zavara asked to see you," Lucas finally said. "Her doctor says she has perhaps 2 months of cognitive clarity remaining." Josie had avoided the care facility where Zavara now resided, allowing only the twins' supervised research visits. "Why would she want to see me?" "Closure, perhaps," Lucas suggested. "Or as close as someone like Zavara can come to it." Josie considered this. "I'll think about it." Lucas nodded, accepting her response without pressure. He'd learned patience these past months, earned incremental trust through consistent actions rather than promises. "The boys asked if I might stay for dinner," he ventured carefully, "if that's acceptable to you." 6 months ago, such a request would have been immediately rejected. Now Josie found herself considering it, not with warmth or affection, but with a pragmatic recognition of the boy's needs and Lucas's ongoing efforts. Dinner only, she specified. They have research to complete afterward. His grateful smile reminded her fleetingly of earlier times, before the betrayal, before everything shattered. The memory no longer carried the same piercing pain, having dulled to a manageable ache. This wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't reconciliation. It was something without a neat label, a complex arrangement built on shared responsibility for extraordinary children and the fragile foundation of actions slowly rebuilding what words alone could never repair. For the twins, for herself, and perhaps eventually for the promising research facility taking shape from their combined vision, it was enough. For now,